Welcome, brave souls, to the sacred screen Sanctum. I am your host, Creed, here to unravel the darkest threads of reality and weave them into tales that will chill your very soul. Tonight's story, my dear listeners, is a journey into the abyss of modern horrors, where the most innocuous rides can turn into your worst nightmare. Buckle up, for we are about to embark on the chilling ride of the sinister school bus. Before our descent into terror begins, remember, some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. In the charming little town of Elders Hollow, nestled between dark mountains and shadowed by a canopy of ancient trees, children sang songs of youth, danced in sunlit meadows, and trusted the world around them. The morning sun painted vibrant shades over the Victorian houses and cobblestone streets. Birds serenaded from above while the soft chimes of wind instruments drifted from homes. But amid this idyllic backdrop, there was one thing that stood out like a malevolent omen: an old, rust-covered school bus. It wasn't the regular yellow. Instead, it was painted a disquieting shade of green, almost as if aged moss had consumed its metallic skin. Its windows, grimy and stained, bore tales of years gone by, with streaks reminiscent of dried tears. The most peculiar thing was its number plate, 1966, even though no such format for number plates existed. Ella Thompson, a precocious 10-year-old with cerulean eyes and hair as fiery as autumn leaves, was new to Elders Hollow. She'd moved with her parents, both scholars, who were researching ancient lore and legends of the town. On her first day to the town's only school, Ella waited eagerly at the bus stop. As the sun slowly began to shy away behind the clouds, that old eerie bus pulled up. The driver, an old man with skin as pale as snow and eyes devoid of warmth, beckoned her in. His fingers, gnarled and veined, gripped the steering wheel, and he offered a toothless grin that sent shivers down Ella's spine. Inside, children sat silently, their eyes blank, their postures rigid. They didn't acknowledge Ella. The seats, tattered with foam peeking out like cotton from a fresh wound, seemed to sigh with despair. The air was thick, pungent with the smell of old leather, rust, and something else, something that reminded Ella of when she visited the butcher shop with her mother. It was the smell of fresh blood. As the journey commenced, the bus took a route that was unfamiliar to Ella. It delved deeper into the woods, the canopy above growing thicker, casting ominous shadows within. Every bump in the road felt like the earth's heartbeat, and with each turn, the world outside seemed to distort and shift into something more sinister. Old statues and stone monoliths, smeared with what looked like ancient crimson rituals, occasionally appeared and then disappeared from view. It wasn't long before Ella felt a cold hand gripping hers. Turning, she found a little boy, no older than 7, his skin as pale as moonlight and eyes that held tales of sorrow. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered, his voice echoing with a hollow tone. And then, all of a sudden, the bus screeched to a halt. As the tires ceased their rotation, Ella peered out to find herself in front of an ancient, dilapidated schoolhouse that bore no resemblance to the modern building she had seen just days before on her tour of the town. It was 2 stories high, its wooden beams rotting, and windows boarded up, with the exception of a few where shards of shattered glass still hung, reflecting the gray sky above. The door to the bus creaked open, revealing a dark pathway that led to the school's ominous entrance. The children began to rise, one by one, moving in a trance-like state, stepping off the bus with methodical precision. Ella, clutching the pale boy's hand tightly, followed suit, an inner voice screaming at her to run but her feet betraying her command. Entering the school was like crossing into another realm. Inside, dimly lit torches lined the walls, casting dancing shadows that seemed to play out morbid tales. The corridors were narrow and the ceilings oppressively low, giving the sensation of being buried alive. The walls whispered of forgotten tales, every creak of the wooden floor echoing the sighs of souls long lost. As they moved further in, Ella noticed classrooms, if they could be called that. In each, children sat in perfect rows, their heads bowed down, scribbling fervently on ancient parchment with quills. Teachers, or entities resembling them, draped in long black robes with faces concealed in the darkness, observed with vigilant eyes. Their fingers, long and skeletal, would occasionally point or guide, their touch causing visible shivers and flinches from the children. In one particular room, children were reciting incantations, their voices monotone and void of emotion. In the center of this classroom was a large, ornate wooden table, on which lay numerous instruments of torture, freshly stained and glinting menacingly under the faint torchlight. Ella, still led by the unseen force, was brought into a unique room at the end of a corridor. This room, unlike others, was circular, with a large pentagram inscribed on the floor. Around it stood 5 hooded figures, their eyes glowing a deep shade of crimson. The pale boy, still beside her, whispered, "It's the ritual of binding. They want to trap our souls here, forever." Realization struck Ella like a sledgehammer. The bus, the children, this forsaken school, they were all part of a sinister plot to harvest young souls. The dated bus number 1966 wasn't a registration detail, it was the year this horror began. She was amidst spirits, trapped in a relentless cycle of dark rituals and suffering. The main hooded figure began to chant, the room's temperature dropping with every word. Ella felt an icy grip on her heart, her vision blurring, the room spinning. As her knees buckled, the pale boy's voice broke through the encroaching darkness. "Fight it, Ella. Remember who you are. Remember the world outside." Ella's mind raced. The echo of the pale boy's voice became her tether to reality. Grasping onto fragmented memories of laughter, family, and sunlit meadows, she tried to pull herself from the encroaching abyss. The temperature in the room continued to plummet, frost forming on the windows and walls. The hooded figures intensified their chanting, the language guttural, alien, but dripping with malevolence. The pale boy began to glow faintly, his light contrasting starkly against the suffocating darkness. "Ella," he whispered, "the chant binds us to this place. But together, we can resist. Focus on my light, let it merge with your spirit." Taking a deep breath, Ella focused intently on the boy's radiance, allowing it to envelop her. As their energies intertwined, memories of the boy's life flashed before Ella's eyes, the joy of his early years, the tragic accident that claimed his life in 1966, and the decades of suffering in the bus and the school. Empathy, anger, and determination surged through her. Harnessing this newfound strength, Ella began to recite a lullaby her mother used to sing, its melody soft and pure. The song, though gentle, clashed violently with the sinister chants. The hooded figures faltered, their glow diminishing. The room, previously dominated by shadows, was slowly bathed in the combined light of Ella and the pale boy. The very structure of the schoolhouse began to tremor, its foundation shaking. Walls cracked, revealing a sky outside transitioning from the oppressive gray to a brilliant azure. The once intimidating statues and monoliths outside crumbled to dust. The children in the other classrooms started to awaken from their trances, their eyes regaining life and color. The hooded figures, unable to maintain their form amidst the purity of the lullaby and the combined might of 2 innocent souls, disintegrated into shadowy wisps, screaming in defeat. As the last note of the lullaby resonated, the schoolhouse collapsed, leaving behind an open meadow with vibrant wildflowers. The trapped souls, no longer bound to their prison, began to rise, ascending toward the sky, leaving behind their tormented existence. The pale boy, his form shimmering, turned to Ella, his eyes brimming with tears. "Thank you," he whispered before fading away, finally finding peace. Ella, finding herself back at the familiar bus stop, clutched her bag tightly. The sun shone brilliantly, and the world seemed vivid, colors more vibrant than she remembered. The old green bus was nowhere in sight. Instead, a bright yellow school bus pulled up, its engine purring softly, children laughing and chattering inside. Such is the power of innocence, love, and determination, dear listeners. for in the face of unrelenting darkness, even the purest light can pierce through. Thank you for joining me, Creed, on this harrowing journey through the sinister school bus. If you dare to delve deeper into the recesses of horror and seek out more tales from the sacred Scream's Sanctum, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, remember, every shadow holds a story.